you sailors?
Well, I don't know, sir. I was once meant to speak in a balloon debate in my first year at secondary school, but it was cut short by a fire drill.
Get back to the office. Check on all missing persons over 5'10". I'm popping into Blackwell's to see if they've got anything by the late doctor. By their works shall ye know them.
Look at that. Simplicity of line, Mort. The older one comes, the more unobtainable and expensive simplicity becomes. Mary, my dear, how well you've recovered.
Lady Reese doesn't share your taste in art, I take it.
Rachel is not fond of crowds. Being in a wheelchair, she gets bored with other people's groins.
I didn't know.
No. It was her own fault. Hunting. What do you expect? You never married, did you? Yeah. What was the name of that girl we both knew?
Wendy.
Wendy.
Let's talk about Kerridge.
What if it were rent boys, or whatever they're called? It would be very helpful if you could curb speculation.
The Scotland Yard are officially dealing with this case.
Not you. Oh, well, that's all right. I know the Commissioner quite well. They sometimes call me in to talk about civil liberties.
Yes, I'm sure you're everybody's favorite expert.
As a matter of fact, I dropped into the Cabinet Office on the way back from Sussex. They're setting up a commission to look into the feasibility of a Bill of Rights.
Which means they're never going to do anything about it.
And I shall probably be its chairman. I'm told it's almost definite.
Well done. You'll soon be in the House of Lords.
It would make Rachel happy.
You didn't by any chance run into Miss Burns when you were in London?
No, I was very pressed for time.
Come on, Alex. She was threatening to blacken your name.
I can handle Miss Burns.
And Dr. Kerridge? Wasn't he prepared to back her up?
Kerridge is far too sensible to be swayed by anything an overwrought young woman might have told him.
You didn't run into him by any chance?
No, I told you I was in London for only an hour or so. Do you want the name of the person I was with?
The Yard might.
It was Mitchell. Robin Mitchell. Excuse me. Martha, I thought you were in the Rockies with Eddie.
Yes, we were, Alex, darling. Walter's business commitments, I'm afraid.
Hello, Lewis.
Listen, I think I found something.
You better come in. Pour yourself a drink.
No, thanks.
Well?
Yeah, about this missing person, there are one or two people the right height.
Well, let's have them.
There's one, Mr. J. Williams, who's described as a financial advisor.
Well, to the government, you mean?
Not exactly, no. More like telling old ladies how to invest their savings and then walking off with the cash.
I mean, some old pensioner might have caught up with him and extracted a terrible revenge.
Unfortunately, he had a tattoo.
And if it was on one of the limbs that was chopped off.
A writhing serpent, right across his back. I've checked with Dr. Russell. Not a snake in sight.
All right, Lewis. Now tell me the good news.
Well, there's one. 5'11", early 60s, last seen about 5 days ago, and who has the Oxford connections in.
Name?
Ballarat. Nicholas Ballarat. He's a very senior civil servant, sir. Has the ear of the Prime Minister and all that. So if it is him, that would explain why Scotland Yard have kept quiet.
What's his connection with Oxford?
He's an honorary fellow of Beaumont College, sir.
Looks to me, Lewis, as if we ought to pay a visit to the wicked metropolis.
You say so, sir.
Go on. Get home to your wife and kiddies. They need you even more than I do.
See you in the morning, sir.
Is he in?
He's at lunch in All Souls. Can I help?
Is that a rhetorical question?
Toothache still giving you hell?
Mm-hmm.
Would a beer help?
Undoubtedly. But I don't want to keep you from...
The college buttery serves a perfectly acceptable ale. And I do owe you one.
Thank you. Does the name Nicholas Ballarat mean anything to you?
Of course. He's one of our honorary fellows.
Do you know anything more about him?
Only that he's an internationally known economist who advises half the world's governments.
Including our own.
He's also a whiz at money raising. He made the new building program possible.
Who nominated him for the honorary fellowship?
The master, I think. Why?
I've been reading Kerridge's book. He attacks Ballarat quite viciously. I wouldn't have thought that made for harmonious high-table gatherings.
I'm told they could do with a bit of livening up.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, Ballarat gives as good as he gets. He made a speech at the Union that was quite obviously aimed at Dr. Kerridge. Everybody here was talking about it.
Well, Kerridge was an angler. They're very philosophical. Like policemen. You know, Alex built his reputation on people like them. He wrote their constitution when they became independent. He understood their needs so well that within a year, they'd torn up all his rules and become a one-party state. I'm sorry to disturb you, my dear. My dear doctor.
You're very squeamish, aren't you, Maud?
Very.
I can understand that.
You can? Max never did.
Ah, well, I'm not Max, am I?
No, I would say you weren't. You don't know anything about toothache, I suppose. The bloody pills haven't done any good.
Oh, I don't trust doctors, let alone dentists. So, what can I do you for?
The Ballarat murder. Have you had anything from the yard?
Yes. Yes, much of what they sent is not much use since we don't have his head to check his dental records. The blood group's the same. The height matches. The age is right, and also the time of death.
You said he was cut up by someone who knew what he or she was doing. Thank you. Where the hell did you get the name Grayling from?
Blame my father. I was his 7th daughter, and, well, he was a keen fisherman, and desperate for a name, he decided to call me after whatever he pulled out of the river.
Lucky it wasn't a chub, eh? Sorry. Maybe you'd like a drink sometime.
Maybe I would.
Once I've got rid of this bloody toothache.
God, sir, how do people live in a place like this?
No worse than Kidlington. And the buildings are considerably finer. Some were designed by Inigo Jones.
You should see Newcastle, sir.
Once knew a girl in Burton-on-Trent, Lewis. Further north than that, I have no desire to go. Turn right here.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Thank you, Inspector. First on the right.
I'm a frequent visitor to the corridors of power, Lewis.
Good. Look, I'm sorry if I'm not being much help, but, well, I suppose we in the Cabinet Office get into the habit of telling as little as possible. And I assure you, you wouldn't get any more out of Mr. Mitchell, even if he had the time to see you.
We are talking about a murder, Mr. Collins.
I know. But it could happen to anyone, couldn't it? I mean, you asked me if Ballarat had any enemies. Well, quite frankly, we all have. It's one of the penalties of being a public servant. Though I imagine you two should know all about that.
What do you know about the Royal Commission on the Bill of Rights, Mr. Collins?
What do you know, Chief Inspector?
The CID do sometimes get information, sir. Have you found yourselves a chairman?
To be quite honest, I don't see what this has to do with your inquiries.
I could find out in any Fleet Street pub, Mr. Collins. I'd rather have it from the horse's mouth.
Well, I suppose it'll be made public fairly soon. In actual fact, we have found a chairman. I can't tell you who, of course, but...
Sir Alex Rees?
No, certainly not. Whoever gave you that idea?
Who made the final recommendations?
Look, these are matters of national security.
Was it Mr. Ballarat?
Look, all I can say is that he is, or rather was, someone by whose advice the PM set great store.
Thank you, sir. Hope we haven't taken up too much of your time.
Look here, Chief Inspector. I wouldn't want any unauthorized information being wrongly attributed.
Of course not, Mr. Collins. You haven't told us anything, have you?
Could hit the road, sir.
Think of the traffic, Lewis. Besides, the pubs will be open any minute. What's your opinion of Mr. Collins?
I thought he was an arrogant pillock, sir. And you more or less told him so.
Did I? I thought I was the soul of politeness.
That's what you always think, though, isn't it, sir?
You got any bread, Lewis? Miss Burns? Miss Burns? Oh, I'm sorry.
Nice try, sir.
Shut up, Lewis. It's opening time.
Alcohol-free lager time for me, I suppose.
You always complain about my driving, Lewis. Think of my pension and slow down, will you?
Why didn't you say? Actually, I was thinking about Ballarat. I still can't fathom out why he was dumped at Thrupp.
If you've been promised something and were then disappointed, something that would crown your career, wouldn't you harbour murderous thoughts against the person that disappointed you?
I doubt it, sir.
Well, let's assume the murderer doesn't have your forgiving nature, Lewis. The victim is someone prominent. So prominent that the minute the death is discovered, the entire nation's police forces are in action. Now, what would you do to put off the moment of discovery?
Chop him up into little bits, dump him somewhere miles away.
Precisely. And if you know of a flat in London where you can perform the act of butchery, or a cottage by a canal where you can jettison the bits...
Dr. Kerridge.
No. That's who we were meant to think of. The person I think it was.
You were saying, sir?
I was thinking, Lewis, of Sir Alex Rees, the master of Beaumont.
For heaven's sake, be a man, Inspector. This is the way you behave when facing some slight discomfort. No wonder violent crime is on the increase.
See the details on that one? Don't know anything about that. You'll have to ask Malcolm, I think. See on Yeah, can you put him in cell number 3? Because he hasn't been charged yet. I'll be down later about that. Then, yeah, he's all right there. The rest are fine. That's good, yeah. Well, Chief Superintendent wants to see you, sir, like an hour ago. Thanks, Chief. I'll be in the office.
And you barge in without informing the Yard?
Sir?
You threaten a member of the Cabinet Office staff?
A very self-important member.
That's no excuse.
And uncooperative.
You know what these bureaucrats are like. You don't go picking on them.
I thought we parted very amicably.
And you must be getting even more insensitive in your old age. What's wrong with you?
Teeth.
Nevertheless, it does not do this force any good to have one of its chief inspectors behaving like a rustic yobbo up in Whitehall for the Cup.
Look, sir, I was at Oxford with half the senior ranks of the civil service.
Well, that's where you learn to behave so badly, I suppose. Huh? Thank God my daughters went red brick.
Civil servants respect a bit of effortless superiority. It's what they're always trying on the rest of the world.
And what good did it do you?
We believe the torso is that of Nicholas Ballarat, a senior government advisor.
Dr. Russell's forensic skills identified him, I understand.
Always happy to pay credit where it's due, sir.
What about his killer?
That's why my interview with Mr. Collins at the Cabinet Office was so useful. Ballarat was an honorary fellow of Beaumont College. The new master of Beaumont, Sir Alexander Rees, recommended him personally. In return, he expected Ballarat to get the Prime Minister to nominate him as chairman of a new royal commission. A certain route to a peerage if you come up with the right conclusions.
Well?
According to Mr. Collins, Ballarat did not put forward Rees's name.
Are you seriously suggesting that a public figure like the Master of Beaumont would murder a senior civil servant merely because he didn't get the chair of a commission?
Look, I've known Rees for a long time. He's always been intensely over-ambitious. Kerridge found out that he was claiming as his own the work of one of his female pupils. Rees also happened to be having an affair with her.
I don't see what that's got to do with anything.
Rees called me informally when Kerridge disappeared because he didn't want any scandal sullying his own good name. So he could have killed Kerridge to keep him from speaking out.
Could have? It's pure speculation, and on a case being dealt with by the Yard.
Yes, sir, but if Rees could kill his own vice-master, he could certainly kill a man like Ballarat, who he believed had robbed him of his crowning glory.
If. Don't give me any more hypotheses, Morse. I want facts. Morse?
No, I'm sorry, sir. The jaw's still rather tender.
Coffee, sir?
Extra sugar.
Didn't last long, did it, sir? The self-denial. I know. You need the energy.
Yes, I've already had a bad time from both the dentist and the chief superintendent.
Sorry, sir. What did he say?
We need more to convince him that Rees is a killer.
What if we were to eliminate all other possible suspects?
Like Drysdale. He had a motive for killing Kerridge. They were old enemies.
No, I've checked on him. The hospital's confirmed he's dying of brain cancer. Besides, he's in Rome.
Still. What are the twin bases for successful detection, Lewis?
Confession and information, sir.
Well done. Now, what we need is information. And who are the best informed people in any college? The scouts, Lewis. They put the drunks to bed, they clean up the vomit, they wake the sober where the singular impairs. They are discreet, maternal, devoted, exploited, and they know everything. Start with Kerridge's scout. Find out all the college gossip. Off you go.
Dr. Kerridge?
Who?
Dr. Kerridge.
Oh, yes. Turn left and up the stairs.
Thanks.
This'll set you up, sir.
Oh, it's a bit early in the day for me, Mr.
Just Ben, sir. If I had a last name, I'd forgotten it.
Well, it's only for when you're in trouble, isn't it, sir? Law, taxes and elections. That's when they want to know, don't they? Bottoms up, sir.
What's in this?
Bits and bobs, sir. Won't do you any harm.
How long have you been here, Ben?
All my life, sir. Terrible, isn't it? Never been to war, never been to sea, never been to London, never been a football hooligan, never been unemployed, never been rich.